Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our On Point podcast. I'm Mark McKee, the head of Viewpoint School, and today I'm introducing what will be a new series of podcast episodes that I'm calling Behind the Curtain. I am so inspired by our teachers at Viewpoint that I want to take our audience, our parents, our extended group of listeners, and take them behind the curtain to understand what we are talking about. We talk about the magic of the classroom. And we're going to start today with our music department, and specifically with our TK through 12 choral teachers. This will be the first of 2 episodes about music at Viewpoint and all that goes into a music education, music being part of a complete education. But today, we're going to unpack the magic in our choral classrooms and talk about how music education and our choral program specifically propel our mission, vision, and values at Viewpoint. So I'm here with Carrie Dietsch, our middle and upper school choral teacher, joined by Lande and Ashley Nguyen, our primary and lower school music teachers. And we are just fresh off the heels of actually a few performances. We recently had our annual holiday program in the Kavli Theater at the Thousand Oaks Civic Arts Plaza. This year the theme was We Are Lights. And just this week, Tuesday night, we had our middle school choral program. And certainly we've heard our upper school singers be singing this fall as well. So welcome to the 3 of you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
And I'd love to open with just a little bit of an introduction from each of you. If you would let me know a little bit about your training and your journey to being a music educator. And I don't know, since Hannah, since you teach the smallest children, let's start with
I will go first.
Yeah.
So I grew up doing musical theater and choir, and I always loved it. And then as I got older in high school, I just started volunteering, and I started a choir for the Santa Monica Youth Orchestra, which is an organization that they provide music education to people in different communities, and it's all free of charge. And so I started their choir when I was just in high school, and I had no training. But that really inspired me to go down the path of music education. And so I went to UCLA and I studied music education and vocal performance. And then I came straight to Viewpoint, and now I'm on year 3.
That's awesome, Hannah. And how old were you and how old were your students in that Santa Monica choir you started?
I was 17, and my students it was a very wide range, anywhere from like 4 to 11.
Oh, that's incredible.
It was a lot.
Ashley, how about you?
Yeah, I remember from a young age just being moved by music. I think hearing it in the house, I think I just remember being drawn to it. So I knew I wanted to be a part of it from a very young age. And so I begged my mom for piano lessons. And she luckily gave them to me. And it was just something a way that I could express myself, I think, in a different way than just, speaking, or it was a different way that I could express my emotions. And I really appreciate her doing that for me and having me stick to it. And then in college, I was introduced to, choral singing, and was part of the choir at UCLA, and was just completely in love with the whole big moment. We would be on stage with, 100 or 200, singing choir and a full orchestra. And I remember just being like, wow, like this is so thrilling. Like I want other people to get to experience this too. Like to be not just an audience member, but to be in it, immersed in it, was just something so powerful to me. So I think it was then that I just knew that I wanted to be able to share that with others and make sure that children, like me, that were like me, that, feel this pull towards music when they're young. I think that they know that and they recognize that. And I just wanted to be able to help them to develop that.
Did you study music while you were performing in that choir?
I was
were you
music
student?
major, yes.
And have you always been in education since graduating?
Yes. I've always loved children. I mean, I've always loved being around children, just the warmth, the joy that they just naturally bring, the humor, it's just a joy.
And for our audience, because it's longer than I've been here, it's my 10th year. How many years have you been at Viewpoint?
This is my 13th year,
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Carrie, what's your story of your training as well as your story to become a music educator?
Like Ashley and Hannah, my parents were really supportive of me loving music from the time I was born. I think I came out singing and dancing and wanting to study music. And so my parents gave me piano lessons. I started playing the violin in 5th grade and played all the way through high school. I played piano forever. And I was in every church choir and youth choir that was available to young people in my area. And I remember taking the train in Pittsburgh to take classes downtown. I felt very grown up starting in the 8th grade that every day after school I'd get on a train and go to, take classes at CLO. I really had a wonderful upbringing that my parents were supportive of me going into music. But I went to college for musical theater. I started my freshman year as a musical theater major, and I joined multiple choirs while I was there and just started seeing, I feel more torn to doing this. And in high school, I loved to gather groups of friends and direct small productions or a small choir for a community event, or to do student-produced musical theater productions at school. And so when I had those opportunities and I got to college and I started going, I want to do what my high school music teachers did for me. Mm-hmm. I loved being in their productions. I loved being in their choir programs. And I think my freshman year, I realized I need to change my major, and I switched to music ed and never looked back. And I'm so happy I made that choice for myself. I think this was my calling.
It's a real switch from imagining that your work is going to be what's really solo performance, right? To imagining that your work is going to be teaching, leading, directing others.
Yeah. It was a passion that I knew was kind of deep down inside that I really wanted to do. And I think because I had great teachers and great role models, it was in the back of my mind the whole time, well, I want to be Mr. Lemonakis for someone else. I want to be Mr. Kamula for someone else. I had great teachers who inspired me.
Mm-hmm. I think I can say to all three of you that passion comes across
thank you.
in your work, and then I dare say we see it also then in the students' performances. Yeah. So let's talk about those performances. And I mean, we can think about the recent ones that you've all just done. And I really appreciate you having this conversation with me. It's, for our listeners, whenever you're listening to this, it is our last week before the winter break. And this is perhaps the most exhausting time to be a teacher. And you're both coming off. So thank you for indulging us so that people can hear this, but we're just coming off, therefore, our holiday programs, a middle school concert. So I'd love to, take me inside the preparation and the planning for something, well, let's say for our holiday program.
So it all starts way earlier in the year than you would expect to be listening to holiday music. And Ashley and I are scouring the internet for all kinds of songs, and we're looking for things that are classics, and we're looking for things that are new, and we're looking to incorporate different languages and cultures and different styles, maybe some instruments, maybe props. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of research that goes into it, and there's a lot of collaboration because we don't want to choose all the same things. So we're working together, and we're always listening to each other's songs and giving input, and that's where it starts. With the students, though, once we've chosen our songs and we sort of see what our program is going to look like, we can start to think about maybe what our theme is going to be. And then with the students, we always have to start it actually not musical at all. At least for me, I always have to start by saying, we're about to do a holiday program that celebrates a lot of different holidays. And not everyone celebrates every holiday. So we talk about the importance of learning about other people and other cultures and other religions. And we talk about different holiday traditions. And we learn that we can celebrate with them, even if it's not our own holiday, and accepting that, because that's our community at Viewpoint. And we talk about how Viewpoint is diverse and our classrooms are diverse. So our holiday program has diverse repertoire. So that's the first thing that I have to do before even teaching any songs for the holiday program.
Yeah, I would say that I concur with everything you said about the collaboration, and that is definitely an important step, is giving them the background, like the meaning behind, like, why are we doing this? I think in preparing for the holiday program, we're trying to do a lot at once in not a lot of time. I just feel like we're constantly reminding the students about posture, breath, diction, vowels, dynamics, phrasing, and form. And if the students have something like that to kind of glom onto, I feel like that helps them to remember the piece more if they're sort of, remembering those core concepts. And those core concepts are the things that we hope they will actually remember for the following years at Viewpoint that they can bring to Carrie. I feel like I'm also always encouraging them to be in the present moment at our rehearsals, especially that week, because that week it is like boot camp rehearsals. They're in rehearsals like every day, and it's a lot to ask of their energy, and we're asking them to be like fully focused and concentrated on these songs. So I'm always reminding them to be in the now, be in the moment, and that I think in turn has like gonna up like the quality of their rehearsals, so that they're giving their full focus at that moment. So it's a lot.
So there's certainly a lot of what you might call musicianship,
Right.
real musicianship, I'd say, that you're teaching these children from a very young age. And we'll get to that in a moment, Carrie. I'm struck by anyone who's been to our holiday program knows certainly there's Christmas. Certainly, there's representation of Hanukkah. We also have Diwali. We've had Kwanzaa. We've had all, and I see you're teaching students to honor what they're doing, what they're singing about in an authentic way. How's the program changed over the years, or how do you see it change every year even?
Well, I think every year we're really trying to reflect the diversity of our community. That's our first goal, I think. And then also reflect the diversity of the world, like of our, of the world right now. So I think it's maybe changed in that regard.
For our listeners who haven't heard it, we have 7 grade levels. I guess 6th grade levels who sing, because TK doesn't sing on stage in the program. They're not there yet.
Next year.
But so we have 6th grade levels, each of which performs as a grade level. 2 more choirs, as well as then specials like the Nutcracker and the strings. Hannah, you sang this year?
I did sing this year. Ashley played.
Ashley played this year. And, we have upper school students join, right?
Right.
What do you hope the students will take away from the holiday program as those enduring lessons that'll still be with them, the next year or even years in the future?
I really find it powerful to be backstage with the students and then walk on with them, because I hear so many of them standing back there. It's a huge theater. They've never probably been in a theater that big, or they haven't been on a stage for sure that big, and unless they were at the holiday program. Right. And so many of them will say, like, Miss Lande, I'm nervous. Miss Lande, I'm nervous. And I'll say to them, I'm a little nervous too. And when we're up there, it's such an experience of trust, because I need them to perform. Like, I'm relying on these 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds to do a good job, to watch me. And they're relying on me to tell them when to start, to help them with the words. If they forget something, I'll save them. And so I think it really is a bonding experience for us that I don't even know if I realize until we're off the stage and we're like, we did that together. You did it, I did it. And we're one big team. So I think that the students leave feeling really accomplished, but also really connected to each other and to me, which is really sweet.
That's really special.
Yeah.
Would you add anything about enduring lessons?
Yeah, that's a great explanation for that moment, that we go through all together with them. But I think it's an increase in their confidence in performing, having performed on that stage since they were kindergartners. I mean, they must be able to walk in there now like it's nothing, you know, like I got this just from doing it, you know, so many times. And each year their role actually grows, you know, so by the time they're in 5th grade, they're speaking, you know, speaking parts in that theater. So
and even this year, the 5th grade, many of the 5th graders will tell stories of traditions from their families' holidays, which is always very special. This year, I noticed that there was a decision that they delivered those stories from memory.
Memorization.
And they walked to the center of the stage, which is very vulnerable. They were not behind a podium. Were you part of planning that with the 5th grade teachers?
No, that was Amanda Vanek. I mean, that was kind of a new thing we've done, is to like, you know, space them out, put them more front facing towards the audience instead of behind the podium. And I think that's been a really nice change. I know it's really more pressure for them to memorize it.
I think it speaks to the public speaking that we have starting in TK, because even by the end of TK, the students will say one line by themselves.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could have done it in 5th grade if I didn't start that young.
Yeah.
So they are doing it from the time that they're 4 or 5 all the way up forever.
So I want to come back to this question of performance. But Carrie, how about for you? What are some of the inputs that you know that are in your mind as you plan for a program, you know, like this week's middle school concert?
Well, preparing a program, it feels very much like what Ashley was saying in terms of making sure that you've got varied, you're representing different historical periods, different cultures, and different languages. You want the kids to have this broad depth of music that they've experienced in the time they've been with you. And for me, that's 6th through 12th grade. And so it's important that I look at, okay, what have I done in the last so many years, so that they're getting a new experience every single year that they're with us, and that they can leave and go on to programs when they graduate high school feeling like they can tackle anything. No musical genre feels overwhelming to them, and no style feels out of reach or uncomfortable, because they've had so many varied experiences here at Viewpoint. And I do think that goes into the planning, but I also try to think about what's age appropriate. You know, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, to make them stand still through an entire concert feels unnatural to us. And which is why I love that we have a traditional choral program for the first half of the year in middle school, but the second half of the year it becomes show choir. We do movement on stage. And then we sing music that feels a little more familiar and a little more contemporary. And that, I think, also kind of hooks kids into the love and the joy of singing. Everybody finds a piece that, you know, yes, we've given you the vegetables, right? You sing all of these genres and styles and languages, and then that second half of the year, we really focus on creating joy, things that the lyrics speak to goodness and speak to, you know, doing good things in the world. I really try hard to find pieces that are about doing good, and our unique situation in that music unites us. We really try to find themes that speak to that, and so I'm glad that we have, at least I hope, that we've fostered a sense of joy in singing. I think it's why our choir programs are so large. They fall in love with singing when they're very young in the primary and lower school, and I hope that, you know, they continue to love using their voice and feel safe doing something so vulnerable on that stage. And I think it is because they sing from such a young age at our school that doesn't feel so scary, because we've always done it. We've always sung. We've always been on stage. I just think we have such a wonderful opportunity being a TK to 12 school, that we really get a chance to watch these kids progress and fall in love with singing and with making music. It's a lucky spot to be in.
And I see you both nodding as Carrie's talking about songs that have a message in them.
Yes.
Does that go into your thinking? I'm thinking about the assemblies as well.
Yes. Always thinking about the assemblies. Well, we have a character program in the primary and lower schools. And so when we perform at the assemblies throughout the year, or when we do our final assembly, we're always looking for songs that can represent each of our character traits. So Ashley and I are always looking for that, but we are always
certain traits,
locked in on lyrics and looking for the right messages.
Yeah. I think because it has to bring meaning to the students for like, what's the why? Like, why are they singing it? So,
Yes.
finding that way to connect with them is important.
It's so interesting. There really is a great deal that goes into what otherwise are these, enjoyable performances, right?
a lot, yeah.
And I have to say I often think at our assemblies about, I imagine somewhere this weekend there's a car and there's one of our students in the back seat just like belting out one of these songs that's about doing good in the world, and that I imagine that like it makes their parents' day a little bit better too. And so that it's not a bad thing.
That's a great thought.
That's my favorite thing to hear from a parent is, oh, we've already heard the whole concert in the car.
Yeah.
That's the best compliment you can have is when you hear that the kids are singing at home and that they're sharing that with their parents.
Especially when it's right after Thanksgiving break and your concert is that week and you hear that at carpool, you're like, phew.
Practicing.
That also means that, they're not going to have forgotten the songs.
Right, exactly.
I love the notion that show choir, which I've watched you introduce, Carrie, that it also is, you're also thinking about the developmental needs of these students, obviously about their ages and stages. And actually, I've watched all three of you elevate what we think students are capable of, whether they are in kindergarten or first grade or fifth grade or middle school and high school. I watch all three of you kind of elevating expectations, but you're also mindful of like what they can do in terms of wiggling. So, any thoughts about that? I mean, what's something you've been proud of that students could do that was really challenging?
It's a hard balance to find, and I feel like it's always something that we're working on. One thing that I was really proud of, last year I had the students clap in a song, and I think that clapping is notorious among music teachers for being hard to coordinate. It seems like something simple, like we all clap, babies can clap, but to clap all together at the exact same time it's like a science.
Yeah.
So
We've all been in a crowd that got it wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't want it on the one and when you want it on the off beat.
Yeah.
So it takes us into a whole, it was weeks long of us working on what's the on beat, what's the off beat. Then we're speaking it out loud and clapping. Then we're speaking just some of the numbers out loud, some of the beats out loud. Then we're putting them all in our head. And it's a whole sequence. And that's the kind of thing that I don't think, hopefully people in the audience wouldn't know that takes weeks and weeks and weeks of practicing. But everyone in that room, we all knew it was a project that we had been working on, and when we got it, it was so satisfying.
What do you
Go
think?
for it, Ashley.
A moment, when they
When you were proud
When
of
I was
something
proud
that
of
was
something-
really challenging.
I was really proud of my chorus this year. They did some 2-part singing, and that was really exciting for them to be able to do that successfully, because it's something that needs to be developed from early on. They need to start, just knowing a melody, then you have to add like an ostinato to that, which is like a repeated pattern. So then you have like half the group, do the melody, and half the group just does like 4 notes, right? And you get that going. And then you try to you teach them rounds and then partner songs. And so that development of the 2-part singing is quite a process. It starts with Hannah. So to have them do it is really exciting.
They don't just show up in kindergarten. Singing
no,
in harmony.
Sing in harmony.
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
They don't.
No.
Not even in 6th grade.
Yeah. It is quite a process. But
Ours has to deal with, I think, just harmony singing in general, but like 6th grade sings in harmony for the first time ever, in 2- and 3-part harmony, and that's amazing to them. But we added dissonance this year. They sang in seconds, and to go, no, it's purposefully supposed to sound.
Doesn't sound right.
And then when we resolve it, it's like, and so
Yeah.
having that with middle school at this most recent concert was was awesome. We did this concert closer called I Will Sing, and they had this really nice tight harmony, and it was really cool. And they sang in 4-part harmony by the end of the piece. And for 6th through 8th grade combined on stage to have these 80 kids just, singing in 4-part harmony, it was one of those like goosebump moments as a teacher to think this is not where we started the year. That was really cool. And for upper school, they sing in 8-part harmony, and we've been doing that now for a number of years, but it's been really nice to see the program grow over the last few years, especially since the pandemic, to have this nice big rich choir that's able to conquer 8-part harmony and handle jazz chords and really like learn to listen. And my favorite thing is that the kids now can identify, they're doing error detection, and they can point out, this is what we needed, our vowels didn't match, that's why it didn't blend. Like that to me is that thing that I'm really most proud of, is that they're becoming true musicians, and thoughtful musicians, articulate musicians. That's what I'm really, truly proud of. And we try to start that even when they're in 6th grade. What did you notice? What can you tell me? What can we fix? What can we include in the next time through? And they're using the vocabulary that we're using in class. They're talking about dynamics and articulation and clean cutoffs and consonants. That's what I'm proud of, that they're getting.
Yeah, they're learning real skills.
Yes.
That will endure with them, as well as the passion that all three of you just exude. So I have a question about that. Even, in middle school, you have just about a third of the middle school in choir programs. We clearly in primary and lower have 100% of the students. So some of your students are as passionate about music as you are, and you can identify them, and they might even be musicians, future musicians, professionals. Others are not, right? So how do you approach teaching everyone, the ones who will go on to be specialists, the ones for whom it might be, just an avocation, and the ones who, may not continue after they're with us here?
I think it starts with just a connection with every student and knowing who they are, knowing what topics they're interested in, and being able to make sure that I have a relationship with each and every student, whether that's just asking them about, their sport, what sports do they play, or, making sure that I'm taking an active approach into knowing who they are as people. I think that can help to, pull those in that maybe are not like totally like, the heavy hitters in music yet, they might know about it, but it's not their thing. Maybe they love basketball, and then I think it's just like praise and encouragement, like whenever they, do anything, that is musical and in the slightest. I mean, it's really just making sure to make that they feel seen, and that that I see them. I think.
Yeah.
I agree with that completely. I think the connection with the students is the first thing, especially for our age groups. They're so young that they don't really have a thing yet. Of course, they have interest, but we have the power to just give them the opportunity to learn about music. They're still learning everything, which is the thing that I find so fun, is that they're learning how to do everything about being a person. So we get to show them, this is what music is. And if you're interested, great. If you're not, that's also okay. But the other thing is just having a lot of variety in my classroom is something that I think is really important. So I feel like sometimes I'm almost tricking them into learning musical concepts, because we'll be playing a singing game and we're learning about eighth note rhythms, or we're learning about so and me, but they think that they're just like, running in a circle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you're not. But you think you are. You think you're hopping, but you're really doing a specific rhythm with your feet. So tricking them into I'm kidding, but having them play games and having variety, it also grows that love of music that we were talking about, because they think, oh, music's really fun. I also love to incorporate like puppets and props and different kinds of visual aids, just things to keep them engaged. Or I also love to show exemplary performances. Every year before I teach the Star Spangled Banner, I show Whitney Houston singing it at the Super Bowl. And I just watch the kids go like jaw drop. And I'm like, I know. and then I go, we get to sing that now. But I like to show videos that can inspire them. And we also move a lot. We dance. We also, we're moving around the classroom. We got to keep things moving along in our room. We can't do one thing for a long time.
Carrie, your students, most of them are electing into your programs,
They are,
but not all
yes.
of them. So.
I was going to say, I have a captive audience, especially starting in 7th and 8th grade. They have the option to choose to be there. And in 6th grade, they can choose their music course, either choir, band, or orchestra. And so obviously I have the kids who chose to sing, and that makes a bit of a difference. But I do think the reason we have such a large number of kids who choose to sing is because they have a positive experience in their elementary and their formative years. And so we're really lucky for that I get kids who are already really excited about using their voice. However, I also feel that what we try to aim for is to build community and family within our programs. Like Ashley was saying, to get to know the kids is so important, but also to help them feel a bond with one another. In upper school, we do a choir camp before the school year even starts. And it's so that we can perform the first week of school, but it's more so that the kids will build this community and will feel safe singing together. And we'll build that trust in each other and feel that they are on the same team. Because they want to work harder for each other, even more so than for me. That work ethic is because they don't want to let down their family. We build this choir community where we all feel really safe together. And it was funny that you mentioned, like, they may not go on and do this in college or as a career. Many don't, most don't. But a huge number actually do go on and sing in college. They're in their college a cappella groups, or they just join the choir at the school. They may be an electrical engineering major. I had one of those visit me yesterday.
You had an alum come back as an
Avril
engineer?
Galtman came back yesterday, and he's studying electrical engineering at Duke. But he is in a college a cappella group, and he's passionate about it. And to hear him speak about, he's arranging for the group already as a freshman. And I got a text message from one of the kids who graduated 2 years ago. Hey, here's my solo from my last concert. And today, another student, Laurel Eith, came in and visited and talked all about her college a cappella group, and she is majoring in performance. She's doing theater and music at college. So we have these kids who do find their passion here and do choose to make that their major. But I love that most of our kids that I'm finding that leave our choir program continue to sing in some capacity. And I do love that. It may not be their major, but they're choosing to continue music in their lives in some way. Singing is a lifelong activity. You can always do a community choir or be in a community theater production, or sing in an a cappella group. And I'm glad that they're continuing that passion.
Sing in a church group or sing in the shower.
And so we're singing in the car, yes. But I'm glad that they're finding that love here and continuing it. It makes my teacher heart very happy.
What is the greatest gift that you'd like students to take from their time in your classes?
A love of making music. Period.
Yeah,
That sounds
great one.
I love.
Yeah.
I want them to leave with a sense of confidence and a sense of accomplishment, and knowing that they can do something that's hard, and something that's scary, and that they can go through it and come out successful.
Yeah. We had a parent after the concert that we had a conversation with on Tuesday evening who said what they learn on the stage at Viewpoint School, they're going to use for the rest of their lives. It's such a transferable skill. Maybe it isn't just singing on stage, but they are on stage from the youngest age. And maybe they won't be so afraid to speak up in a boardroom. They won't be so afraid to use their voice in a situation where it can do some good and make some positive difference. And I do think that the performing arts gives you that sense of confidence and bravery. And we're really lucky that we're teaching that to students from the very youngest age. And I'm glad that parents recognize that too.
Well, I was reflecting as you were talking about what our students experience all the way through, from primary school through high school, about that experience of being part of a high-performing team.
Yeah.
And I've heard all of you talk in this conversation about trust and vulnerability and connection, and the connection between those qualities and then achievement and joy, actually. And so I think that's really, I see that in your students' performances. And it's great to hear. Of course, it's the time of the year when alumni are coming back from college for the winter holidays. And so it's great to hear that you are hearing from them about how they're doing, whether or not they're music majors.
Right.
And that's terrific. As people are hearing this, they might want to hear more about our music program. So a few years back, we innovated and we created Arts Fest. Arts Fest has grown and grown. I still have a vivid memory of this spring when all three of you collaborated on an amazing musical performance at Arts Fest. Can you tell us a little bit about Arts Fest?
Well, Arts Fest is a Saturday, and I believe it's usually at the beginning of June. And initially, actually, we weren't part of it. I think our first year was 2 years ago. I'm trying to remember. But initially it started as an upper school festival where everyone would come together on Saturday to make music together. And it was a little more of a casual environment, as opposed to our assemblies, I think, because you can walk around, you can go to the Ecolet, check out this group, you can walk over to the gym, check out this group. I feel like it's a little more relaxed. So it's kind of nice to experience music in that different kind of a setting.
I love that it highlights not just music, but even all of the arts at Viewpoint. Our film programs have a chance to be featured that day. The visual arts have open galleries, and they even have, I think, folks throwing on the wheel. Like, it's a really cool day to experience everything artistic that Viewpoint has to offer, from theater to visual and performing arts to music. And so last year, when we knew that our 3 choir programs would perform back to back to back, I think, I don't remember whose idea it was, but we thought it would be so fun if we could have, since we would all be there at the same time, have the upper school students sing with the primary and lower. And that's, again, the beauty of being on a TK to 12 campus, is that you have these opportunities for kids to interact and engage together. Those rehearsals were so incredibly fun. and to hear those really mature voices blend with those really tiny voices is the most awesome thing. I'm so glad. I think we're going to continue the tradition.
I was going to ask.
Yes.
So you chose last year a Disney classic,
Yes.
The Circle of Life from The Lion King, opening with our younger students and then adding in our oldest students. That was an incredible, it's still with me, the memory of that moment.
Thank you.
Yeah. It was a full circle moment. The circle of life was evident in there. Because we actually had
Did you
siblings.
think of that? Did you?
I did.
So we did. We tried really hard to place the siblings together on stage,
which
which was not easy with heights and 120 vocalists
to be together. Yeah.
So that was 120 of our students.
I think
That's
about that number.
10% of our school.
Yeah, I think
singing
something
together.
about
Singing
that.
together.
Yes.
So
Had we included our middle schoolers, we wouldn't have fit in that gymnasium. But it was, I love that big mass choir feel. I love those, any opportunity you can to gather different grade levels or different ages. We've had faculty members join our students on stage to sing. I just like when we have a chance to really gather large groups and to sing together. We make a joyful noise, and that's a lot of fun.
And it's a great representation of our entire program, because we're all doing the same thing, but at different levels. Carrie's students sang in harmony while ours sang in unison. And it was inspirational for my kids, for my students, to see the older kids, and they were they were like, oh, we gotta step it up because we're singing with high school.
Yeah.
And I think the high schoolers also felt like excited to sing with them.
I think they
It's
loved
their
it.
favorite moment of the year, and they still talk about it, and they are already asking what we will do this year. So
Is that right?
the pressure is on us to
Yeah.
come up with something fantastic, and we haven't decided
Yes.
yet what that will be. But
Coming soon. It will be a surprise.
Yeah.
I was going. So we'll all have to see this at Arts Fest.
Yes.
And I bet we will. We already exceeded the seating capacity in the gym
Did.
last year, so that's another challenge that we'll take in order to hear it. I'm wondering, were there any reflections after that 120 voice performance that your students gave on the experience of singing with the other ages in the school?
can we do it again? That's
Yeah,
the biggest,
yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
biggest reaction I think we've had. I know
That's a good sign.
Our upper schoolers just loved it. I mean, I know for them that was a really special moment, and I think just seeing where they've come from, because they remember being in primary and lower school chorus. They remember being that small child and how special they felt when they got to see the upper schoolers, and how they looked up to the upper schoolers. And now to be the upper schooler in that situation for them, like they know that that's special for the younger grades too. They're just eager to do it again.
And then you came and worked with the lower school chorus to sort of prepare them, which was very nice for them to get to meet you, for the fifth graders to get to meet you.
I enjoyed that experience as well. Yeah.
And they find, I mean, Mrs. Deitch's words are so important when she says anything.
Even if it's the same thing
They-
you said.
But they are
Hear it from a different voice.
they're so honored. So
Yeah.
they're so excited, and it goes back to elevating what they can do, because they see themselves as people who can sing with a high school choir, even though they're in first and second grade. So they start to have a higher sense of self.
That's really great.
Totally.
And I really do see the circle of life in that.
Yes.
In just the same way that you've talked about the teachers who inspired you, and now you are the teachers who are inspiring the next generation. I'm sure that in our student body, there are future music teachers among our students. To the point about the profession of music education, I was offering to take our audience behind the curtain. Is there anything I haven't spoken about in terms of all that's goes into these ephemeral, beautiful performances that we just appreciate and then we go about our day?
The process is more important than the final product. And I hope that our families remember that yes, they're seeing this one day, this one evening, but what I think matters most is that everyday experience in the classroom that we're having with the kids. You know, they get the shiny, the finished product, but I think it's the everyday moments and the smaller victories that we have in the classroom that matter the most. And I think that's
It's seeing their growth over
time.
Over time.
We're in a unique situation where we get to see our students for many, many years. For me, for 6th through 12th grade, that's a huge amount of growth, and you get a chance to see them all the way through until they graduate, because again, we're on a TK to 12 campus. We really are in a very lucky position to be able to watch the kids grow and succeed over many, many years, and to build those relationships that are very lasting.
Yeah, I found it to be very powerful with my age group. They change so much so fast. So when there's a student in first grade who won't raise their hand and won't participate at all, and then in second grade they're singing a solo at the final assembly, that's the moment where I'm just in awe of what the students are capable of and how much they can grow.
That's really incredible, that notion of watching them and witnessing them grow. And that notion of the process, I think it's true of everything we do at the school. I hear that in our athletics, program. Most of the time is spent in practice. Obviously, you focus on the game and you might focus on the score, but it's really about all of that time in practice, which is most of the time that a student athlete is playing. And I think about our open houses at the end of the year and those incredible, demonstrations of what students have learned, and it's all about the process throughout the year as much as it is about any one test or paper or assignment. But you get to live that in an area that is a passion for you.
Yes.
Any closing thoughts?
I'll say I'm appreciative to be at a school like Viewpoint.
I was about to say that. I was about to say, very appreciative to be at a school where music is so supported.
Yes.
Well, I certainly, the notion that music is part of a complete education is, in fact, an ancient notion that music is completely a part of a complete education, and that you can't have a complete education without music, which that used to be true everywhere. And I think it's still absolutely true that it's true here at Viewpoint.
It very much is.
You know, I was thinking just about how much gratitude I have for you and your colleagues, for what you bring, your professionalism and expertise, and then just the joy and authenticity that you bring to the work that you do. And I want to thank you today for taking the time to talk about the mission of our music programs at the school. This is the first of 2 behind the curtain episodes on our music program. So next, I'll have an opportunity to talk to your colleagues in the music department about our instrumental program. I hope our audience will stay tuned and watch for that episode. And I'd just like to thank you all for what a great conversation. I hope that this has helped our audience to understand a little bit more, even as they're tapping their toes along, that they might also understand just how rich that education is that our students are getting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you to our listeners, and we'll see you in the next episode.
On Point is produced by Viewpoint School, an independent school in Calabasas, California, serving students in grades TK through 12.